Let's have a word of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, wonderful Lord, our God, our rock, our salvation, our strength, Lord, the rock that we stand on, Father, Lord, your Son Yeshua, Lord. Without him, we are just nothing, absolutely nothing, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for being a wonderful Father to us. Thank you, Lord, for providing everything in our lives to the exactness of what is required, nothing less and nothing more. Thank you for this time, Lord. Thank you for bringing people. Thank you for bringing your children, your Talmidim together here to learn. And Lord, we just hope, Lord, that we are growing in you. We're growing closer to you. We're understanding you. We're able to identify and to be identified inside of you, Lord Yeshua. Lord, all that misconceptions, all those wrong thinkings, all those wrong ideas, Lord, at the end of the day, is just about knowing you. It's not about any theology. It's not about anything else, Lord. So, Lord, I just pray, Lord, that each one of us, each one of these Talmidim of yours, grow to know you, Lord Yeshua. That they have a desire and the strength and the character and the wisdom and the knowledge and the capabilities, the grasping capabilities to pursue Radaf, to pursue you, Lord. That they may come to this understanding that to be one in a heart with you is the beauty of all things. Thank you, Lord, once again. Thank you for bringing all these children, Lord, to this time, this onset of Shabbat, Lord. And as we spend time in your word and understanding, Lord, give us your grace and your kindness. Give me also, Lord, the anointing to speak from the depths like pearls and like precious stones, Lord, from the depths of your heart, Lord. Let it pour out, Lord. I submit myself to you for this time, Lord, that your children would learn from you. I ask this in Yeshua's name. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, friends. Wonderful to see all of y'all. Good to have and to see all of y'all on a weekly basis. And we've been doing so much in this new year. And this new year, I think God is taking us on a very different level of Torah, Midrash, and explanation, and different kind of expounding, different kind of understanding what Torah is all about. And I just hope you all guys have been catching on and making notes, reflecting, studying for yourselves, using, all the reflective powers that you'll have to put two and two together and to understand what is actually happening and what are we supposed to do. Now, this week we are in Parsha Vayashev, right? Vayashev from the word shuv, which means to sit, to the side, to dwell, right? And it's pertaining to the story and the life of Yakov. So therefore it starts with Vayashev Yakov be'eretz megori aviv be'eretz Canaan. And Yaakov, that's in chapter 37, Bereshit chapter 37, in Lamed Zayin, Perek Lamed Zayin of Bereshit, Pasuk 1, Aleph. Okay, it says, Vayashev Yaakov be'eretz megori aviv be'eretz Canaan. And Jacob settled in the land of his father's sojourning, in the land of Canaan. Now, Yaakov had a very tough life, an extremely tough life. And all the promises of God to bring the children of Abraham into the land are finally coming into fruition. And Yaakov is coming into the land now. And he is saying, now I am going to have rest. So I am going to dwell in the land. Right? This is the intention of this. But do you really think he has rest? No rest. Because being in the land, you need to perform. There is a whole lot of performance that's required in being in the land. Last Torah cycle, last year in 5781, we studied the return back to Gan Eden, and everything that we studied was about the rectification of coming back to the land of Israel, which is Gan Eden. And we understood the purpose of Israel, their role, the purpose of the Levitical priesthood, the purpose of Israel in this world. And that's what was 5782 all about. 5781 about. 5782 is about now Kelim, it's about vessels, it's about us. So I've kept this theme that in this year, we need to be vessels separated, sanctified for holiness to God. Okay. So now we are on a little higher darega, a little higher level of Torah, and this is what we are delving into. Parashat Vayashev is about the life of Yakov, how he settled in the land. What happened when he settled in the land? Did he have peace and joy for most of his life? No. The troubles that hit him are so huge. So huge. In fact, the loss of his son, Yosef, the loss of his son was so huge for the man Yaakov that he went into a spiritual slumber. And the story moves on to the sons and the children, and about Yosef in Mitzrayim and what happens. And Yaakov is just silent because he is not alive anymore. Towards the end, you realize that when his sons bring back word saying, Abba, Father, your son is alive, he still does not move. He's in stupor. But when he sees the gifts and the carts that are coming, it says that Yaakov, Israel, revived. He came back alive again. And he started living all over again. For all those years, all those 17, 18, 22 years, Israel was dead, spiritually dead in the sight of God in this world. And he was just existing. He was mourning for the son. What is the relationship between Yaakov and this son, Yosef? That is a challenge to look at. That's a challenge to understand. Yosef now is about the subconscious, is about revealing the subconscious. You'll have to understand what Yosef stands for. Yosef is about that which is unrevealed, hidden spiritually, okay, and not visibly seen. That means he is masked to this entire world. So let me put it like this. When you look at Yeshua, when you reflect on the life of Yeshua, when he walked 2000 years ago in the land of Israel, he met with thousands of people probably on a daily basis. Some people came to him for miracles, and some people came to him to learn, and some people were attracted to him because most of them thought, oh, he's the Messiah, is going to come and he's going to be king, he's going to bring the kingdom to Israel, and he were attracted with the concept, the idea of, okay, we're going to throw out Rome and now our deliverers come, right? There were some who just couldn't get it. They were looking at the man Yeshua and saying, "Who is this man?" The scribes and Pharisees were looking at Jesus and saying, "How is it possible? Who is this man? How is he? He's not learned. He's not this." They were just not getting it. But there was a minuscule contingent of Israeli souls, Jewish souls, who, when they cast their eyes upon Yeshua, they went, "Whoa, you are the Son of God. Truly, you are the Son of God, oh Lord." It happened to Peter, it happened to John, it happened to Nathaniel. They all had these moments of, "My Lord, you're the Son of God. Where can we go?" That that entrance of light, that perception, that revelation of Yeshua was so great. You all are not realizing this. The problem is that in our lives, none of us have that. What happened? Yeshua. So we are still struggling like the populace. We are still struggling like the common people. What do I need Yeshua for? For my miracles, for answering my prayers, for this, for that, oh, everything with my mouth, intellectual belief, intellectual faith, you see, and that's my life. Do I have that aha? Lord, you are truly God. If that has not happened, then we're still groping in the dark somewhere. We're still groping in the dark somewhere. And that's what Yeshua. So there were two people who could come to Yeshua. And one would look at Yeshua and say, "Okay, okay, you're a great master. Fine, I've heard a lot about you." And the other one would be, "Oh Lord, forgive me, Lord. You're truly the Son of God." Why is this difference? So Yeshua also resembles, or rather Yosef is the precursor of what Yeshua was much, much later. Yosef resembles or is the epitome of that which is hidden and that which is revealed, the working of the subconscious soul. He is that factor that his brothers looked at him and said, "Look at this dreamer, he's a rascal. Let's get rid of him." But it is Yaakov who understood his son. And Yosef was hidden behind so many layers of spiritual hiding that for most of his life he was unrevealed. His true revelation came out much, much later in steps because he was the perfect Tzaddik who became king, who brought Malkut. Finally, what did Paro say? Paro said, "In Mitzrayim, there will be no one greater than Yosef except for me who sits on this throne." Correct, na? Except for Paro who sits on that throne, there's no one greater than this thing. So he was a Tzaddik who became Melech, king. He brought Malkut, kingdom, the epitome of kingdom. But even David HaMelech was king. But David HaMelech was inherently king. He was Malkut, who was trying to be Tzaddik, trying to achieve Sadaqah. So the difference between the two, King Messiah, Tzaddik, fully righteous. So Yosef is somebody that is about the subconscious mind, the revealing from the subconscious mind. Now, when he's born, uh, his mother says a very interesting thing. Let's read that portion when okay. In chapter 30, in chapter 30 from verse 23 onwards, this is what Rachel says. Okay. God remembered Rachel, it says, Why Zakhor Elohim et Rachel, wa Ishma aleha Elehem, wa patak et Rachama. And he patak, and he opened the Rechem, the womb. The word womb is the same word as mercy, Rechem, in Hebrew. Okay, and he opened the Rechama of Rachel. What tahar vitalad ben Toamar Asaf. And she conceived what taled, and she bore a son, what tomer, and she called out, and she said, Asaf, Elohim, et karefati. She called him Yosef, and so she named him Yosef, et shmo Yosef, le'amor Yosef Adonai li ben achar. And she said, May the Lord add on for me a Seth. May the Lord add on for me another son. Now we have to understand the words of his mother. What is the word Asaf, Yosef? This name Yosef, it
Together.
means together or to add. So typically the word Yosef or Asaf means to add, to multiply, to add, to it's very mathematical in its context. So whenever you say you want to add something, it's Asaf. You add something. So she was saying, May the Lord add unto me another son. But so therefore she named him Yosef. And why did she name him Yosef now? Because if you see Yosef, uh, in a very non-contextual way, the word to add, Asaf, okay, is got to do with mathematics, right? It's got to do with mathematics, okay? And he's the epitome of gematria. His name, his life, and a whole lot of things about Yosef. I mean, there's so many things which I can uh, talk about with the gematria of Yosef and Yosef, but I just give you all a very simple, very few things that is really astounding when you look at his name and how the personality of Yosef, what it means to add. Okay, the reason why even God chose him, or Paro chose him to handle the affairs of Mitzrayim later, because his ability to calculate what was Yosef doing in Mitzrayim, the wisdom and the knowledge that God gave him, he was able to govern. He was able to govern the whole land of Mitzrayim and to serve the nation and to serve the people and to give them, grain in the famine, and just a tremendous personality. That means he was walking on a different level of intellectual capacity, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and endowment from the Almighty, and a tremendous soul. He's a very unique soul. Joseph is a very unique soul, and it's got to do with the subconscious mind revealing itself. Now, why do I say this? Revealing itself? Because he's constantly dreaming and he's trying to express, as a child, he's trying to express the dreams, but he's not reached that maturity of understanding what he's trying to reveal as a personality. So therefore he calls his brother and says, I had a dream, and we were harvesting in the field, and I was gathering my sheaf, and you all were gathering your sheaves, and my sheaf stood up straight, and all your sheaves bowed down to my sheaf. So he was struggling till the time he reached a certain maturity. And then he had another dream about the sun, moon, and the stars. And even his mother and father got to him and said, You know what, you want us also to bow down before you? Son, what are you saying? But it says his father kept these things in his mind. So his father understood the potential of Yosef. There was something very unique about him. And the power to reveal the unseen, the power to reveal what is hidden in the spiritual realm and to bring it into fruition or bring it forth into this world. That is what Yosef is all about. Now, if I take, where is that? Okay, let's come back. If I take the name Yosef, if I take the name Yosef, okay, I don't know how many of you all are with the Gamatria and who understand Gamatria. And I want to do the Gamatria for this. It comes to 156, right? This is 156, which is 10, 6, 60, 80, right? Which is 156 totally. Now, if I look at 156, what is 156 all about? What is 156 all about? And how do I understand what this 156 is? So if you delve a little more, now I was some time ago I was hearing uh, Rabbi Ginsburg, because I think he's one of the most amazing sages to be alive today. He's very old right now, and Ginsburg is for quite some time mulling the idea. He's mulling on the idea, or rather, he's waiting for a very conducive time to bring in Yeshua into mainstream Judaism. He's been pressed tremendously for this, but he's holding back for whatever reasons of the world in Judaism today. And he's somebody who's weighing this in his hands right now. And and I'm in kind of uh, I do kind of take a lot of what he says and what he teaches, because he's a tremendous giant of a man. And I was hearing him, and this is where I kind of picked up on a few things he was talking about. So a lot which I'm going to share with you is what I've learned from Ginsburg also. Uh, what he says is that if I look at Yosef and I bring out the matter of 156, what is this 156 all about? How do I you know how do I understand this 156? Okay, so he says, let's look at the fundamental understanding of his life first of all. Okay, he was 17 years old when something happened to Yosef. Okay, where is this? He was 17 years old when his father sent him out and told him, you go to your brothers and see what they're up to, because Yosef was somebody who was a snitch, right? If you're looking at the story very well, he was a snitch. Okay, he was a snitch. So all the reports of his brothers, he would come and tell his father. So he was very much in oneness and in tune with his father, and his father was getting all the reports that were having with what was happening with his sons. Now, having so many sons, there are going to be differences of opinion and problems. On the background, what was happening with the brothers? The brothers, there was a lot of disunity among the brothers. The sons of Leah were on the scuff, literally on the scuff with the sons of Rachel. And the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, okay, the handmaids also, they added to the mix, and there was a lot of confrontation. Okay, now towards the end of Vaishlach, actually, there's an incident where it says that Reuben, Reuben goes and he defiles the bed of Bilhah. who is the concubine of Yaakov, right? Rachel's maid, who gave birth to three children from Yaakov, and Reuben goes and he kind of does some nonsense out there, and he defiles that relationship between Yaakov and Bilhah. Why? This happens after Rachel dies. But why does this happen after Rachel dies? Because when Rachel dies, Yaakov ignores Leah and that side of his progeny, but he goes and he takes his tent towards Bilhah. Reuben says, "You can't do that. You have a legal wife, my mother, Leah." So, to, to bring about a problem between Yaakov and Bilhah, he goes and he does something with Bilhah, and now uh, Yaakov is in a fix. Basically, he's in a fix. He says, "I cannot, this is not something that I can do." So he puts a stop to Yaakov and his desires for a whole lot of stuff, and this is what Reuben does. Okay, so it's a very crazy story if you're understanding what I'm saying, and and that this unity among the brothers, the hatred among the brothers is too great. It's too great. So Yaakov is fed up. If you remember, even at Shechem, what happened at Shechem? Levi and Reuben, what do? They take swords and they go and they slew the full city of Shechem with Hamor and his mother and his father just because he violated Dinah. Obviously, it's a bad thing, but uh, it took them by guile. He says, "No, no, we will give you Dinah, but you have to get circumcised first." And on the third day, when all of them were in pain and they couldn't move their body, they took the swords and went and slaughtered all of them. That was really bad. Okay. And the language they used then was, how can they defile our sister? They tell Yaakov that. They don't say, "How can you stay quiet by them defiling your daughter, our sister?" Okay. So there's a whole lot of animosity and a whole lot of problem between the brothers, which is playing out even in this Parsha Vayashev. Okay. And this Parsha Vayashev now is the bubbling, and the greatest mix to everything now is Yosef, who is supposed to get rid of this animosity between brothers, but he goes through his entire lifetime of trial, trouble, and pain to go through this. Okay, let's get to the text now. Okay, chapter 37. Vayashev Yakov beretz megori aviv beretz Canaan. Ele toldot Yaakov. And this is the toldot. This is the chronicles. This is the generation. Now, when I use the word generation, I don't mean PD. I don't mean this is son of son of son of. This is how Yaakov generated life on this earth. So I'm talking about a biological generation. I'm talking about a spiritual generation happening. Okay. Toldot, that's what Toldot means. So Ele Toldot Yaakov Yosef ben Shava Esra Shana Haya Roe et Achiv Betzon Vehu. Okay. These are the offsprings of Yaakov. At the age of 17 years, he was a shepherd with his brothers by the flock. Joseph. Yosef was at the age of 17 years, he was a brother by his flock, and he was a youth with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah. Why does it say he was a youth? Because he was growing into a maturity and to a fullness. He was not able to understand the subconscious. He was not able to, he was bursting forth in revelation, but he was not able to bring form. He was not able to bring kind of structure to what his personality was. Mind you, he was a tzaddik of a very high order, and his father tutored him in righteousness because he understood. It's like when you see potential in somebody, you groom them and you invest everything into that soul, that child. This is the relationship between Yaakov and Yosef. And he was a youth with the sons of Bilhah and sons of Zilpah. It says his father's wives. And Yosef would bring evil reports of them to their father. Now, Israel loved, now then it says Yaakov loved, it says Israel loved Yosef more than all his sons since he was a child of his old age. So he made him a fine woolen tunic. So he basically made him a katonet pasim. Katan, from the word katan, means small, miniature. Okay, katonet pasim. Pasim means stripes. So this also has got to do with Pesach. Okay? Pasim, Pesach, a whole lot of things. We will not get into that right now. Katonet pasim, vayara hiv ki otho ahav avihem, and his father seen that his father loved him. His brother seen that his father loved him more than them. Mechol achiv wa ish shnu otho velo yechalu devro le shalom, and they hated him, and they were not able to even speak to him personally. So just imagine having 11 brothers or 10 brothers and being shunned. So whenever you came around, hi, go from here, turn your face away. We don't want to see you. Literally shunned. Literally shunned. After all, who wants a tail tattler, right? The first chance I get with a tail tattler is take him around the corner and give him boom, 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 boom. You deserve it. I mean, we've all gone through those phases. Right? This guy, he's, very difficult life, friends. Very difficult. And then Joseph dreamed a dream in which he told his brothers, and they increased even more to hate him. And he said to them, "Here, if you please, please," he says, "Shma na, here, please, please, here." What was Joseph trying to do? He's telling them, listen, there is something that's happening. Just hear me out. You see the growth, that's why it says, and Joseph was a youth among the sons of his father. He was young, he was not able to contain that ability to change darkness to light, or to bring out that which is unrevealed into revelation. You had to grow into that thing. And obviously, then we know about the binding of the sheaves and all that stuff. And they were getting more and more irritated with this guy. They said, one day we need to get rid of him. Okay. Verse 12. It says, Vayilakhu achiv leroot et zon avihem beshechem. And now his brothers went to pasture their father's flock in Shechem. So if you'll know a little of Israel, Shechem is a very fertile place, extremely fertile place, right? Rather from the Negev. So where Yaakov was and where Isaac were living basically were a little more on the south towards the Negev, little more of the barren side of Israel. But Shechem was a little more towards the north. And green, fertile pastures. Even you go to there, you find, the highlands tremendously green. So the brothers went to Shechem in that vicinity to pasture their flock. And Israel said to Yosef, he said, are your brothers not pasturing in Shechem? Are they not? Yosef, do you think they are in Shechem? Go and I will send you to them. And he said to them, here I am. And he said to him, go now, look into the welfare of your brothers and the welfare of your flock and bring me back word. So please tell me what is happening. Why is Yaakov so interested in his 10 sons? Because he knows what his sons are up to. His sons are up to something that are not good. They don't respect their father, that is for sure. We've seen it. They don't give him his due kind of respect and honor in many ways. They're just doing what they're doing because obviously the pressures are not them. They said, I mean, there are 10 of us, right? Now there are 12 of us. But how are we going to share our inheritance? Between the 12 of us, all of us are going to get nothing. I'm going to land up with 2 goats and 3 camels. What am I going to do with my life? I've got my wife, my family, my children. How are we going to distribute the wealth? So That pressure was constantly on them. So probably they were thinking on different ways of uh, trying to live their lives, like modern day slavery, modern day rat race that all of us understand very well, and we all. So the brothers were under their own pressures, and so they went out and what they were doing with the sheep and whatever. His father just wanted to map out what was happening, and so he kept sending Joseph. Joseph, go find out, tell me what's happening. Wait, what can you Yaakov do? Ultimately, they're his sons. He has to look after them. So he sends them out to his brothers. Okay, go now and look into the welfare of your brothers. So he sent them from the valley of Hebron, and he arrived at Shechem. Now you'll have to understand. He sent them from the valley of Hebron to Shechem. Hebron comes from the word kaver. What is kaver? All of you should know what kaver is. Kaver in Hebrew means friend, friendship, camaraderie, brotherhood, oneness, closeness. So Yaakov was living in a place called Hebron, or modern day Hebron, right, in Israel. Hebron is a place of unity, of oneness, kaver, from where we get the word kibur. Kibur, linked, chained, tied to one another. My soul is tied with your soul. We cannot live without each other. That is what kibur is. That's what Hebron stands for. But the sons have left Hebron and now they've come to Shechem. What are they doing in Shechem? In Parashat Vaishlach, you will understand what Shechem stands for. What happened in Shechem? In the past and in the future. I'll tell you what happens in Shechem. And he arrived in Shechem, it says, a place prepared for adversity. Shechem is a place for adversity. It is there that the tribes acted with greed, with guile, and adversity, and sinfully. It is there that the Shechemites violated Dinah. It is there that the two of them got together and they slaughtered, they murdered a city. If you read the book of Shmuel and Chronicles, you will realize that even the kingdom of Israel was divided in two at Shechem. Shechem is a place of adversity. It's always been a place of adversity for the Jewish nation. Rehoboam goes to Shechem and anoints himself, and Jeroboam goes to the north and anoints himself after Shlomo. Splits the entire kingdom of Israel into two, into Israel on the top and Yehuda south. Shechem is the place of adversity, of violence, everything goes wrong. What were the sons of Jacob doing in Shechem? And this is why Yaakov, in foresight, in spiritual foresight, was looking forward into Shechem. Forward into Shechem. And he said, Yosef, I'm worried about your brothers. Please go. Bring me back word. What is happening? Please tell me what is happening. Yosef, in all his youth, in that immaturity, but don't be fooled at the same time. Yosef is tremendous powers of reflection and wisdom, knowledge and understanding. Tremendous, even at that age. Alert, full of zehirut, full of zerizut. And while he was walking in the field, it says a man met him and he asked him, what do you seek? He says, I seek my brothers. His brothers hate him, completely hate him. But Yosef is looking for his brothers. He says, I'm looking for my brothers. Tell me where they are. You see the gap. You see the gap between Reuven, the eldest, and Yosef. Could be a gap of what, 20, 25 years? Huge gap. There's no relationship. The minds are different. The thinking is different. Generation gap. Whole lot of stuff is happening out here. Where are my brothers? I'm looking for my brothers. When I look at the life of Yeshua, why he came. I mean, the Son of God or the Messiah of this world, in its true sense, was born in Israel and he was born among the Jewish people. He was born among his brothers. All you know, he could have been born in ancient India somewhere, in Banaras or in some North Indian country, because that's what God could have done. He could have reconciled the world from India. But why in Israel? Why among his Jewish brothers? Why? Because Yeshua understands and knows. He's searching for every spark of his Jewish brothers. And that love also was an anger inside of him, but a righteous anger. He kept warning them and he kept telling them, he says, oh Jerusalem, you do not know the time if I visited. If only you knew the time of visit, how I long to gather you all like a hen gathers his chicken. What a tremendous understanding this is. And then he asked this man, okay, he asked this man, and so the sages say that, this man is really divine in a sense. So they compare him to the angel Gabriel, okay, to the angel Gabriel. And the reason why they compare to the angel Gabriel, is because there was an impartation that happened at this point of time to uh, Yosef, to Gabriel. And then he directs them. He directs him to his brothers. I heard them speaking that they are going to go to Dothan. Dothan. Now, Dothan is a very interesting place, an extremely interesting place. Although it's a geographical location, even till today, it's very close to Shechem. But if I look at the word Dotat in Hebrew, the word Dotat, the word Datai, okay, the word Datai, it means to be religious. It means to be fundamentally religious, to go down an extreme path of religiosity. So it's sometimes also used for the word law in Hebrew. Very interesting. They left Hebron, a place of love and unity and oneness, and Chaver in Kibur for each other in spiritual intimacy. They came to Shechem, to a place of adversity. And in this place of adversity, they found comfort in Datai, in religiousness, in regulations, and laws, and rules. Where did Yeshua come? What did he find when he came to his brothers and sisters? He told them, you all have made such big rules and regulations and such bindings upon the local people that, you yourself cannot enter in, much more them. Are you getting what I'm saying? Very, very interesting. So they moved from this place of Hebron and they came to this place. Why? Because now they were under pressure. Oh, our father's got wealth, but there are 12 of us. How are we going to separate? What do I do for my life? There's that whole lot of stuff which was happening with them. And we hate our brother and we hate this and we hate that. Yehuda is another personality and Reuben is another personality. He goes and does something. He and Levi go and kill somebody, and Levi is cruel in his nature, and it's incredible what's happening. This also reflects in the state of Israel during the second temple era. Because during the second term and second temple era, the reason why the second temple was destroyed, okay, it was destroyed because of Sinat Khinam, mindless, baseless hatred for each other. There is no other reason why that temple was destroyed. And listen to me carefully. Now I will put something in perspective to everybody. All throughout the Gospels, Yeshua keeps telling them, love one another. If you have a problem with your brother, please reconcile first before you give your korban on the mizbeach. Before you give your korban on the mizbeach, reconcile with your brother. Very, very important. And he tells them, you see the splendor of this temple, not one stone will remain intact. It will all be burnt to the ground. Why? Because the benim, the stones that build the kingdom of God, the sons that are building the kingdom of God, are fighting and are hating each other. And the only reason why the temple was destroyed was of Sinat Khinam. In the second temple era, they had the Torah, they had the religiosity, they had the righteousness, they were doing everything to the book and more than in the first temple. But they hated each other. They were not able to love one another. And this is the theme that's reflecting in the Gospels, but we have not understood it. So, what we have done, we've taken that context of loving one another completely out of context, and we have given it an umbrella effect that, oh, Jesus is only talking about love in this world. But that's not what it is about. Contextually, I'm linking Sinat Khinam, brotherly love versus brotherly hatred. So as he's coming, as Yosef is coming, and they saw him from afar. And when he had not yet approached them, they conspired. They were sitting and talking, what should we do to him? This guy, we've got to, he's far away from his house. He's about 100 miles away from his house. We can do whatever we want. We can do this, we can do that. All our plans conspiring as to how to get rid of this guy. Why? Because his father loves him. One day his father is going to give him everything and he's going to leave us in the lurch. He's going to leave us penniless, broken, separated. What do? Let's make a pact together and get rid of him so that at least we have some inheritance. This is what's going on between the brothers. So they see him and they conspire and they say, okay, let's kill him. One said, look, the dreamer's coming. So now let us kill him and let us see whether, whether his dreams can come true once he's dead. They come up with all these plans. Reuben, the head of the firstborn son, he hears this and he says, no, don't even stop thinking about all of this. I agree with your sentiment. Okay. I also fought for my mother Leah. But after all, he is our half brother. Don't shed blood. Let us keep him aside and let us give him back to his father. Okay. So Reuben also has a heart for his half brother. I mean, after all, he's going to be responsible being the eldest of the brothers. Okay. So he says, no, don't do that. We will not strike him mortally. And Reuben said to them, do not shed blood. Throw him into the spit in the wilderness and set no hand against him, in order to rescue him from the hand to return him to his father. So when Joseph came, they stripped him of his katonet pasim, they stripped him of his garments, and stripped him of his tunic, this which his father made. Now, in a spiritual sense, this garment that was given to Yosef by his father, I want you all to think, I'm constantly talking to you all about spiritual garments, right? About big day, about attiring yourself in garments of righteousness, garments of praise. Okay. the Tzadik, the garment of a Tzadik that Yosef was carrying was of very high quality, extremely high quality. They snatched that away. They completely snatched that away from him. And by snatching that away from him, they ripped him, completely ripped him out. And they threw him into the spit, into the darkest portions of the earth. So these are all parallels with the life of Yeshua, right? I'm trying to bring out those parallels. Okay? And they threw him into the spit. Now, the spit was a place of tremendous darkness, no light, nothing. But yet, in all of this, Yosef had the strength and character to not say a word. It does not mention in any part of this parsha that Yosef fought against what they were doing. He never said a word. He never contended with them. He done nothing. He accepted his faith. Now, which kind of person would, obviously he cannot do when there are 10 brothers who want to kill you, what are you going to do? With fear, he accepted his faith, he was quiet. But how long can he be quiet? How long can he be quiet? Look at the righteousness of this man. You're thrown into the pit. The Midianites pull you out and sell you to the Ishmaelites, or the Ishmaelites pull you out and sell you to the Midianites. And the Midianites take and sell you again the second time to Potiphar, the courtier of Pharaoh. And then you become a slave in the house of Potiphar. And Potiphar looks after you and gives you his garments to wear. And yet all of this, you mean to say that Yosef could not send a letter to his father in Hebron and say, Father, I'm still alive. This is what my brothers have done to me. See what they've done. Or don't you think he had the chance to probably run away and come back to his father? Of course he had. But why didn't he do it? Why didn't Yosef run away or send word to his father? Because if he did, all of Israel and his 11 children would be in disarray. There would be no rectification for that relationship then. So he kept his silence because he loved his brothers. And this is huge. This is huge, friends. I want you to understand this. He played into the game, said, if I am dead, then I am dead. So be it. I would rather be dead than to destroy the relationship of my brothers with their father. What a great personality. It would be you and me, we would have been on the warpath. First chance I had, I would have come and exposed this one, that one, this, you done this to me, you done this to me. Joseph is no. Tremendous personality. So then they take him out and they sell him. You think God was condoned what was happening? Do you think God condoned what was happening? God knew what was happening, right? In the book of Micah, in the Haftarah, let's read the Haftarah a bit. Okay. I don't think I've done Haftarah with you guys before. But if we look at the Haftarah in Parashat Vayashev, in Amos, okay, in chapter 2, verses 6 to chapter 3, verse 8. This is the Parsha which is linked, this is the Haftarah which is linked to the Parsha every week. Okay. See what it says in Amos 2. It says, so said the Lord, for 3 rebellious sins of Israel, but should I not exact retributions for the 4th? 3 times you'll have done. But for the 4th, should I not take cognizance of this fact? And then he says in verse 6, for having sold a righteous man for silver, 20 pieces of silver. So God is not condoning what is happening. And a destitute one for the sake of a pair of shoes. Those who yearn that the dust of the earth be upon the head of the poor, who twist the way of the humble, a man and his father come to the same betrothed woman. Who is he talking about? He's talking about Yehuda. A father and a son sleep with the same woman, Tamar. Don't think God is not taking cognizance of all these evils. But the beauty of this, I am trying to explain to you all, is that whatever evil happens, God is able to take that evil and flip it around and make it sweet and give and bring it from darkness into light and bring it from bitterness into sweetness and change it from a curse into a blessing and give you life. So no matter what they done, to the providence and the kindness of God, God took all these things. He took cognizance of them. He punished them for it, but he flipped it. He changed that curse into blessing, and he blessed them. God says he took cognizance of it. See what it's saying out here. A man and his father come to the same maiden, thereby profaning my holy name. They receive on garments held as security. Tamar took, what did Tamar took from Yehuda? His staff, his ring, and the cord. And what was that cord? You know what that cord is used for? Basically, that cord is used. It's always kept with a Jewish person, because that cord is used to bind the animal during the korban. So they bind the legs of the animal with that cord, and then the korban is done. That cord, sometimes used on the waist also. They recline on garments held as security right next to the very altar, and they drink wine brought from unjustly levied fines in the temple of their God. This is the Haftarah portion for this parsha. Now we are seeing all that hatred coming out. All that hatred coming out. And then what do they do basically? Now they have no answer. They actually wanted to return Yosef back, but he's already sold. The situation gone out of their hands, and he's taken to Egypt, and the story goes on in Egypt. And now the story comes back to Yakov. It says in verse 31, it says, and they took Yosef's tunic, and they slaughtered a male of the goats, and dipped the tunic in its blood. And they dispatched the fine woolen tunic. They brought it to their father. So they took both his inner garment and the garment that his father made. Both of them were in sin blood. And he said, we have found this. We have found this. I think this belongs to your son. Look at the attitude. This is what we found. It belongs to your son. No remorse. No remorse. No repentance of what they have done. We found this. Identify it if you please. Is it your son's tunic or not? Do you think they don't know? Of course they know. He recognized it and he said, my son's tunic, my son's tunic. An evil beast has devoured him. Yosef has surely been torn to bits. He's been treif. The word treif. You know what treif is? It's the word that's used for sacrificial flesh that has been discarded before giving it as a korban. It's the same word that Yeshua uses in the New Testament where he says, keep that thing which is holy. Don't throw your pearls to swine, lest it becomes treif and it has to be thrown to the dogs to be torn. Yeshua says this in the New Testament. He uses the word treif, but we don't understand this word treif because we're just taking it on a very simple English level that, don't that which is holy, don't throw it to the dogs, don't throw your pearls to swines. Because else they turn and they tear it and they rend it. So simple in English. But no, this is a different meaning altogether, friends. Completely different meaning. We're looking at treif over here. Yaakov is saying, my son has become treif. He's no more a perfect qurban to God. Oh, I'm going to go down into Gehinnom, he says. I'm going to go down into Gehinnom with bitterness in my soul. My son is dead. My son is dead. Then Yaakov rent his garments. He tore his garments and he placed sackcloth on his loins and he mourned for his son many days. All his sons and all his daughters rose to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, for I will go down to Gehinnom, mourning over my son. And his father cried for him. Whose father cried for him? Which father are we talking about? Yitzhak also cried because Yitzhak knew what was happening. Now the Midianites had sold him to Egypt, to Potiphar, a courtier of Paro, and the chamberlain of the butchers. Now what happens in Potiphar? In the house of Potiphar? The Tzadik of a person grows and he becomes, he controls the entire house of Potiphar. So it's known in among the sages that Potiphar was either he was a transvestite or he was homosexual or one of those things, and he was not really straight as a person, and therefore he neglected his wife. And his wife now was looking at Yosef, 18-year-old, strong, radiant personality, because Yosef resembled his mother Rachel in beauty and in strength. He had toar, he had form, he was beautiful in form, and he was beautiful as a man. She desired him. She desired him from the utmost portions of her Yetzer Hara, was wanting that. She pursued him for many days. He kept refusing till that twisted evil inside of her could not take it anymore and she confined him to jail. He was in jail for 12 years because of this. And in 12 years, there also he rose to prominence. He was in the pit, from a pit to a pit and to a bigger pit. Now the entire story shifts to Yehuda. And we all know the story of Yehuda and Tamar, and don't want to get into it. And chapter 38, it was this time it says Yaradu and Yehuda goes down. He leaves his brothers. Why? Because now, for what they have done, the brothers cannot even, not only can they not face their father, but they cannot even face each other. They're constantly blaming each other because that guilt now is running through them like a fire, unquenchable fire. And Yehuda loses Kibur. He loses the oneness with his father and his brothers and his family. So he leaves Hebron. It says, it was at that time that Yehuda went down from his brothers and turned away unto an Adulami man whose name was Hira. So he leaves his faith and he comes down in the Shephilah to this place called Timnah. And then he saw a daughter of a prominent merchant whose name was Shua. And he married her and came to her and he conceived 3 sons, Onan, and Shalach, right? And the 2 of them die, married to Tamar, and then we know what happens, what Tamar does. And see, but even Tamar, look at her personality. She does not come when she's accused of harlotry and she's been asked to be put to the stake to be burnt. She comes to Yehuda because Yehuda is a judge at that point of time. You have to understand the strategy of Yehuda. Yehuda was a judge, and he orders Tamar to be burnt. Why burnt? Why not stoned? Why not stoned? To be burnt because the daughter of a Levi has to be burnt in harlotry, not stoned. The rest of the children of Israel have to be stoned in harlotry, but the daughter of Levi always has to be burnt alive. So he orders Tamar to be burnt, and this is an indication that Tamar is not a Canaanite. She's a daughter of Levi. She's a daughter of somebody from the tribes of Israel, who Yehuda got her married. In fact, she was from the encampment from Kevron. She understood the promises of Abraham. She understood the role of Yitzhak and Yakov, and she knew who she had married into. That understanding that she married one brother, and then he died, then the other brother took up responsibility, and he died because he also was wasting seed. He never wanted to give inheritance to her. So she waited for Shlach, the younger son. But Yehuda said, maybe even Shlach will die. Let me protect my other son. So she goes and does this. But God doesn't condone all this. But God turned that evil into a blessing. And from that union, we got the twins, right? Peretz and Zerach, from where we get the lineage of King David and our Messiah, Yeshua. Why is this about the story in pattern between this parsha? Because it's telling us that in every pit opportunity, pit place, there is opportunity to grow. There's opportunity to rise. So Messiah went down into the pit, but when he rose to great prominence. And Yosef, with that personality of his, now we are going to see Yosef, after all of this, coming into maturity, is able to take that revelation and bring it out into, because now he's mature enough to bring it out into this world. Therefore, what happens in the prison? In the prison, where are we? Okay, in the prison, okay, the cupbearer and the baker, both of them landed in prison for some reason, and they angered the king, Paro, and both of them in prison, and both had dreams. And Yosef was able to reveal something to their dreams, and as he had revealed, so it happened. The baker died, but the cupbearer went back into his forgiveness and came back to Paro, and he forgot about Yosef. It was after some time that it was, which obviously we are going to Parsha Mekhetz right now, that Paro has his dream, and Yosef is called out, and now he's using this wisdom and this understanding and this God-given ability to reveal the unknown to Paro, and because of which Paro has made him very, very big, extremely big, and made him second in command in Egypt. But I want to put a little grammatic to say, okay, when I look at the life of Yeshua and then look at the life of Yosef, what is the connection? How do I say that he's a suffering Messiah? Yosef is a suffering Messiah. But Yosef also became King Messiah after some time, right? That Tzadik became king, Malkut, because he governed all of Egypt. I know Yeshua was the suffering Messiah, but when is he going to bring kingdom? Why do you think his disciples asked him, Lord, When are you going to bring the kingdom? This is the place where Judaism gets its concept of the two messiahs. That if they do not deserve Messiah, then they will get the suffering Messiah. If they deserve life, then they will get King Messiah. So they deserved suffering Messiah, they got suffering Messiah. But are they willing to accept it? Say, no, 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 no. We are very righteous. We deserve King, not suffering Messiah. So, we're looking at different angles of the Torah, friends. We're looking at different angles of all of these things. I was listening one day to a youth session. You all may find this funny, but a youth session on a little of mathematics conducted by Ginsburg. Okay, and he proved to everybody that a triangle is equal to a square through algebra. Okay, now I'm not at that level of mathematics, so please, I don't know, but I found it really amazing. And the end of the course, he took each and every point of that transition and every exponential value of that triangle and connected it to every feast of the Bible. It's unbelievable, friends. It's unbelievable. Exact, perfectly exact. I mean, sometimes when I think of these guys, these giants, mental giants, too much, friends, too much. Okay, so I don't want to go down that path anymore with you guys. Yeah, uh, we've come to understand that Joseph is not what we think who he is. He's a much deeper soul. He's a soul that is going to reveal the unseen. And as I started off before, towards the end, when his brothers come for the first three times, they don't recognize him. But he came into his complete maturity and he said, "For this was I sent to Egypt." And then he turns on and tells his brother, "I am Yosef, your brother. Is my father alive?" What wonderful words. And he hugs them and he cries and he holds nothing against them. He could have been, for all that he went through, he could have just taken out a sword and done whatever he had to, but he did not. And that was Yosef. That the revelation, that aha moment, oh, you are Yosef. And I think when I look at Yeshua, all of us have to have that, truly you are Lord. And if we don't have that in our life, we are missing out on everything, friends. Let's get rid of this intellectual faith. Let's get rid of being in Dotan, religiosity, right? Because I have nothing else left to do in life, I because start becoming religious. Let's go back to Kevron, Chaver, and go back to oneness and unity. And let's leave Shechem, that place of adversity and dissension and Shinat Chinam. Let's leave all those places and let's come back to Kever and look at Yosef and say, "Yosef, I want to hear you. You're trying to tell me something. I want to hear you." Let's come back to Yeshua and change our perspective with Yeshua today and say, "Lord, I mean, I've been doing all this while, but I really want to hear you, Lord. Just reveal all that is there." And I'm sure, the Lord will reveal and we will. I pray that everyone has that aha moment and say, "I know the Lord. I know the Lord." I believe it is in everybody's fundamental right to know the Lord and not know the Lord like how you and me know the Lord right now. To know Him. Every one of His disciples knew the Lord, but not like how we think we know Him. They all had that aha moment. Paul had this aha moment when he seen that light and it hit him and he says, "What? What?" He had his aha moment. So we also have to have that moment, friends. Please keep this in mind. Look, introspect, move, radaf, move towards God and say, Lord, give me that aha moment. I have to have that revelation. Until then, I'm groping in the dark. I'm going to be like the 10 brothers who are doing all this. Let's not be like that. Let's raise ourselves up. Let us get to a better place. And I pray for each one of you all that you'll come to this place and you'll learn a lot more. See, we're learning all this for one reason, that the goal is Yeshua. Until that revelation does not happen, I'm telling you, friends, we are in a dangerous place. Okay. And I'm going to close with this. God bless all of you all. Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful evening. Till I meet you on next weekend. I hope you'll have been blessed. Nitraot, Laila Tov. Okay. Shabbat Shalom.